Hello, welcome to this episode of AnimeCons TV. I'm Patrick Delahanty, and I'm here this week to talk to you about how to participate in a good Q&A session. I've been staff at conventions, I've moderated panels, and I've been a panelist, I've been guest at a convention, and so I've kind of seen all the different viewpoints of being in a panel. Of course, I've been in the audience at many panels as well. And so I'm going to offer some tips for staff and moderators and for just the people in the audience on making a Q&A session much better for everybody involved. I'm going to start with the staff and moderator perspective. If this is a large or popular panel, you should have somebody screening the questions. Some cons have people write down the question on a card first. This is also helpful, so if people get stage fright and they can't remember their question, they can just refer to the card and read the words on the card and don't have to worry about, performing in front of everyone and speaking in front of somebody they might idolize. So having it on a card is great. Plus that allows the person at the microphone to see, is this the question that they're saying, or are they going off topic? And if you've got a popular panel, you should have somebody at the microphone so that if somebody's going on long, you can cut them off and say, okay, we get it. What do you think? And just to keep things moving, because we've all been in that Q&A session where somebody just rambles on and on. They tell a story, they've got a 5-part question, and that's really what we're trying to avoid. So in a large panel, having somebody screen these questions is a big help. And it helps to have somebody screen them out in the audience. You can't really do it if you're the moderator on stage. And so if you are the moderator on stage, it's a good idea to set the Q&A expectations ahead of time. So give the audience some guidelines. Describe the process you're going to do for the Q&A and stick to that process. Even if you're going to do a discussion yourself with the guest and open up to Q&A at the end, tell people ahead of time, okay, we're going to do this for the panel and Q&A will be at the end, and here's the process we'll follow for Q&A, so that they know what to expect once they get there and know if they might have a chance to have their question answered. And stick to that process. Don't change it, but don't make exceptions for anyone. Tell people that they should please stand, always stand, state your name, and the name of the panelist the question is directed at, if there's more than one person on the panel. And they should also state their one-sentence question, which ends in a question mark. It's not story time. They could have a long question, just get it down to one sentence. What's the question? You're going to move on to somebody else. The guest may give a long answer, the panelists might have some big explanation, but they have to have a one-sentence question. And so just give them these straightforward guidelines and hopefully they'll stick to it. If it's a voice actor, you may want to add on some other requirements to discourage people from asking for autographs or hugs, or for the actor to repeat lines from their show. This is a QA panel, it's not a live performance of the show, and they can always get autographs and maybe hugs at their autograph session. And it's not appropriate to do that in front of everybody and waste everybody's time. Even if you're not going to be here when the autograph session is going to be held, well, if you can't rearrange your schedule, then apparently you don't care enough about this actor. So don't give them a sob story about why you can't be there. Get the autograph at the appropriate time. If this isn't a panel where people line up at a microphone for questions, then spread the love as the moderator or as the person in the audience with the microphone. Go around in different areas of the audience, give others a chance to get their question asked, and there may be a lot of people that have multiple questions and they have their hand up several times. Well, try to get to the other people first, and then you can get back to the others that have multiple questions, just to give everybody a chance to get their question answered. And if you're passing around a microphone, don't actually pass the microphone. have somebody hold the microphone and hold on to it the entire time. Never pass it down the aisle and let people hold it themselves, because then you can't grab it away if something goes bad. And this will happen at some point. Maybe not in a panel, but over the lifetime of a convention, there's going to be somebody who is doing inappropriate things in the microphone. So never give it to them. Always hold on to it so that you can take control back. And if they go on too long, you can say, okay, I think we get it, and let's see what you think. So you can cut them off. Never let go of the microphone. If you're in the audience with the microphone, passing it around, that's your number one rule. If there are no microphones, sometimes a small convention or a small panel may not actually have microphones, then you should repeat the question back. And this may be a good thing to do in general, but when there's a question in, the moderator should repeat the question back for the rest of the audience. Maybe there's an accent people might not understand. You want to make sure that you're actually conveying the correct question, that everybody understands it correctly. Maybe the guest didn't hear the question. So repeat it back, and if it's a long question, this is your chance to make an abridged version of it. And do this for every question so that it's not just quiet talkers that are singled out, or people with weird questions. Now, if a question's for anyone on the panel, direct the question to a panelist when you repeat that question. This way, not every panelist has to actually answer the question. Look for panelists who may actually be indicating that they want to answer, like, oh, yeah, oh boy. Or maybe one you think would be best to answer. Or you can direct it to somebody who hasn't had many questions. This is their chance to actually answer a question. Now, obviously, some panelists may not get as many questions as others, and so what you can do in that instance is when somebody asks a question for one panelist, let that panelist answer, and then say, Monica, that was a great answer. Jamie, do you feel that way? And this is your chance to get somebody else involved that has just been sitting there and maybe not getting as many questions. And when the panel's reaching the end, let people know you only have time for 1 or 2 more questions. And if there's a line at the microphone, this is the cue for whoever's staffing the microphone to cut off the line and send everybody else back to their seats. There's no reason for them to keep standing around when they're not going to get their question asked. And so that's some tips for the staff and for moderators. And for attendees, if you're at a panel and there is no moderator, don't assume it's open season. Just be respectful of people and try to follow these guidelines. Ask your question in one sentence that does not start with the word I and ends in a question mark. So if you say, I really, blah, 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 that's not a good start to a question. The question should start with something like, do you, or how did you, or what is the, how, what, why, when, who. But you want to start with a question and have it end with a question mark. It's not story time, and you can ask that later if it's something more involved or something private that's not appropriate. Don't ask multi-part questions. Like asking, did you like X, and if so, why? Is fine, but trying to sneak to two completely different questions. Did you like X, and also on project Y, did you do Z? It's like, no, those are two, no. Like asking for a follow-up, like if you're asking a question that has a yes or no answer, you can say, well, if you did this, why did you do this? Or if this happened, how did it? So something, that's one question technically. But yeah, you don't try to sneak 2 questions in because it's not fair to everybody else waiting. There's a ton of other questions probably. As I've mentioned multiple times already, skip the stories. Yes, the show that you've watched and this guest, they may mean the world to you, you idolize them, and they've helped you in tough times, and you've always wanted to ask this question or share your story of how much this means, that's not the right time. Maybe it's special to you. Nobody else has that feeling that you are having. They all have their personal connections, and it's not time for everybody to share their personal connection to whatever the subject matter is. If you feel strongly about something like this, do it as a one-on-one. So if it's a panel with a panelist, you can approach the panelist after the panel, wait outside the room, and then you can say, oh, I just wanted to let you know this was really great, and blah, blah, blah. If it's a guest, go to their autograph session, and you'll have some one-on-one time, and while they're signing, you can tell them the story, and they'd probably really appreciate that. But at an autograph session, it's really not the time to do it. So also, you want to make sure you research your question. I've been to some panels where somebody asks a question and then it's really embarrassing because, yeah, I didn't work on that show, or yeah, that wasn't me. So make sure you know what you're talking about, and make sure if you are in a panel for a guest that your question is relevant to that particular guest. Like if they're an actor in a show, you can't really ask a directing question to them. So research what they've done and make sure that your question is relevant to this particular person. If it's an industry panel, you can't ask questions like, well, are you going to get this show? Don't ask questions you know they can't answer. Are you going to get this show? Why didn't you get this? This a lot of, how much did you pay for this? They're not going to tell you that stuff. They can neither confirm nor deny a lot of these licenses. So if you're asking a question at a panel that's on a specific topic, don't try to use the Q&A to prove your expertise. This isn't about you. This is their panel. It's their turn to do a presentation. If you think you're more qualified, no, I would do it with so much better panel, don't take it out in the Q&A, because it's their panel and you may end up embarrassing yourself. The best way to deal with that is to just apply to do the panel next year. Say, oh, I know a lot about this subject. I'm going to do this panel. So either at the same convention or even some other convention, try doing the panel yourself if you think you can do so much better. So, and finally, be respectful. No matter what happens, if you think this panel, oh, this guy doesn't know this topic, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Be respectful. Don't call them out on it. Like if you're talking to an actor, don't say, yeah, I saw that new movie you were in. It really wasn't as good as the old. Never say that something they were in was not as good as anything. Even something else say, like, this was my favorite of all the stuff that's fine. You don't talk down other work. Be respectful of people. So hopefully these tips help. Also, this brings back memories because in the 4th episode of this podcast, way back in 2009, over 10 years ago, we did an episode called Don't Be That Guy in Panels. So if you go to our website at AnimeCons.tv and find episode 4, you can find a fun video on Don't Be That Guy. And we've got some examples of what not to do in panels, so that might be fun to check out. And if you've got questions, or if you've got additional suggestions, we'd love to hear it. You can contact us. The info's down here in the video. It's you can email us at podcast@animecons.tv, or you can leave us a voicemail. Please leave us voicemails. We love having voicemails, hearing your voices. Just call us at 762-ADEQUATE. That's 762-233-7828. And we look forward to hearing from you, whether it's questions about should you do this in a panel, or like, is this question okay? Or here's some tips you forgot to mention. And we'll probably be like, oh my God, yes, don't do that. So yeah, we'd love to hear it. We got another feedback episode coming up in a few episodes. So we'll answer any questions you have in that feedback episode, whether it's about this episode or any of the hundreds of episodes we've done in the past. So yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Oh, one final thing, which we haven't mentioned yet. Let me grab something here. Svetlana's new book, Diary. You may be familiar with the Berrybrook series. Her new book, Diary, is out. And so that makes a great Christmas gift. Also available, complete Berrybrook collection as a box set. You can find this on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookstores near you. So definitely check this out. If you've been looking to get her books, box set is a great way to go. It's very neat. Look at that. And so this Awkward, Brave, and Crush, which are middle grade comics, and then Diary, that's a special, there's actually a diary section, there's stickers, there's 3 short stories in there, and some other stuff, so it's a good bonus for the box set here. So definitely check that out, and Svet, thank you for picking it up. That's Berrybrook. Check that out. And we'll see you next week when Doug has a report from Anime NYC. See you then. Bye.